Hello, friends. Were you raised with narcissistic parents, or were you in a long-term relationship with somebody that constantly told you who you are? Like defined your personality, told you what you're feeling. Even if you said, this is what I'm feeling, they said things like, no, this is what you're feeling. Or maybe you explained your perception of something and you were told, no, that's not correct. This is correct. And done over a long period of time, right? Especially when this person is telling you, I know you better than anybody. I'm telling you this for your own good. It can get really confusing. And one of the symptoms of CPTSD after narcissistic abuse is lack of self-identity or not having a clear sense of self. And then as you're on the road to recovery, it's hard to trust yourself as to who you think you are because these thoughts keep coming into your mind like, no, that's not who you are. This is who you are. And it's almost like the gaslighting that you went through with the narcissist is still taking place in the confinements of your mind. If that resonates with you, you're going to want to watch this video. For those that don't know me, my name is Michele. I'm a life and relationship coach. I'm also the founder of the Thriver School of Transformation, which is a monthly membership where we meet together live weekly and we work through the side effects of complex PTSD together. So if you want to check it out, here's the link for that. But let's talk about this ability that toxic or malignant narcissists have to kind of reshape your self-identity to the degree that it confuses you and you don't know who you are anymore. The first thing I want to kind of put into place is the reality that no one outside of self should define who you are. No one outside of self should tell you what you're feeling because they are not in your body. They do not know. Now, in childhood, healthy mirroring helps us to see what we're feeling, helps us to see ourselves, right? But narcissistic parents don't do healthy mirroring. They have a distorted prism of their own reality of who they themselves are, let alone who you are. So once we know that, once we realize that they don't even see themselves accurately, we want to start taking the power of allowing them to define you away from them. Okay. And so when I was thinking about this, I was thinking how imagine if, I want to see what I look like. Okay. I want to have somebody describe me. I wouldn't go to somebody blind and, have my definition of my image, my physical image be defined by this person that can't see, especially if they only used their lack of sight as a visual. Okay. So if they said, somebody blind said, Michele, to me, I think your eyes are this color and your lips are like this and your face is shaped like that. And it's completely different from how I see myself. I wouldn't go to a mirror and see what I look like and begin doubting it, like, well, maybe I'm seeing it wrong. Like, maybe this isn't what I look like. Maybe they're right. Like, that wouldn't happen, right? And the reason that wouldn't happen is because I firmly know that that person is not seeing me. And therefore, because of that, they can't define what I look like. Well, it's kind of clear in that sense, but we have to do the same thing with narcissists on an emotional level. They're not seeing you because they are blind to see what somebody else is. Everyone is an extension of themselves. So in essence, they're viewing everyone through the broken prism that they have of themselves. They are emotionally blind to see who you are as a person. And when you can firmly believe that, that's the first step of learning how to trust yourself and how to strengthen your own self-identity. It's removing the permission that has been given to them to be able to define you. You have to take that back. You have to realize that they are allowed to have their perception and they are allowed to have a distorted perception if that's how they choose to see you. I mean, it sucks, especially if it's a family member. You don't want them to see you in a way that's not you, but you can't control their perception and you have to let that go. so that you can control your perception of you. The second way to be able to trust your perception of yourself, to be able to really clarify who you are as a person, you have to start looking at the times you were acting out of harmony with your personality, because narcissistic abuse is all about that. Narcissistic abuse is all about pushing you outside the boundaries of who you are as a person. And when you don't understand what's going on, you've probably fallen into certain behaviors like reactive abuse, or just reacting from a triggered place, which whenever we're triggered, we never show up as our best self. Okay, it's almost like our child overly emotional self shows up. Okay, we have to look at that, because the narcissist uses that to try to keep you stuck in not knowing who you are. They push you outside those boundaries, and then they're like, look, see, you're the one that's the problem. Look at how you're acting. You know, you're the one that has issues. And when we see the reality that we are acting outside of who we really are, if we don't understand what's going on, we can agree with the narcissist and say, yes, it's me. Now, I'm not minimizing those behaviors, because those behaviors are wrong. Reactive abuse is something once we learn about it, you want to stop, okay? Because it's not who you are. But my point is, you have to start realizing that that is something that has been taking place on purpose. The narcissist pokes and pokes and pokes until you explode, so that they can make you look like the problem. So you have to understand and give yourself some compassion, and realize that you've been a part of a game that you never wanted to play, that you didn't even know you were playing. And there are no rules except the rules that the narcissist dictates and changes whenever they want. So understand that because of that, it has brought up things in you that aren't you. Okay. So part of getting to the heart of you is starting to kind of unmesh the behaviors that the narcissist has conditioned you to fall into, which might be overreacting, raising your voice, high anxiety, a lot of things that weren't part of who you really are. Start noticing where these behaviors are being fueled and conditioned by the other person. You can't change them until you start bringing it into your conscious awareness. Once you do that, it's about learning how to stay you, despite their trying to push you outside the boundaries of who you are. Because the sad reality is they want you to overreact. They want you to raise your voice. They want you to act in a way that gives them the ability to point the finger at you. They don't want peace. And that's the hard part. But if you stay you, you won't get lost as to who you are. Okay. Now that's hard. Now, to learn how to do that takes time. And I highly recommend the School of Transformation, because we meet weekly, and that weekly assistance really helps with rewiring the mind and the nervous system. Okay. But anyway, that's something that has to be learned. And then the last thing I'm going to mention for the sake of this video, this is not an all-inclusive list of how to strengthen your self-identity, but these tips are a great place to start. Okay. So the last thing I want to mention is to start listening to yourself. Start checking in with yourself. Okay. Anyone that has been through narcissistic abuse is extremely externally focused. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? What are they thinking about me? What is going on? What do they need to be happy? What should I do to make them happy? What should I do to fix or help them? It's never, what am I feeling? What do I need? What feels good for me right now? How do I see it? What is my perception? Even if they don't like my perception, what is my perception? We can't strengthen our self-identity if we are not looking within. So it's about changing. Imagine the binoculars in reverse, right? They either make everything super close or super far. We want to change our perception of what we're focusing on. If we've been externally focused, we want to flip that around and become internally focused. We can't get to know ourselves until we start doing deep dives inside. It's not always easy, but it is definitely worth it. The more you know yourself, the less you will need somebody else to define who you are, and the less it will confuse you if somebody claims you're something you're not. So when you're still struggling with this, what happens is the narcissist will say something like, "You're so selfish." And you will spend an enormous amount of energy trying to show evidence that you are not selfish. And as you're like giving all of this energy to prove it, they're denying your reality. They're minimizing and invalidating your reality. And you're left after that conversation feeling horrible. And they're fueled. Why? Because all that energy that you gave out that you thought was to show proof, they sucked it up as narcissistic supply. They don't care about the evidence or the proof. They just want your emotions. Okay, they want that emotional energy. But when you work on this and you trust your own perception, they don't change. They will still say, "You're so selfish." But the difference is, rather than waste energy, you'll say something like, "You're allowed to think that. I know who I am." And that is how you take your power back.